Welcome to the Transform Sales Podcast, where forward-thinking business leaders come to share their experiences and ideas, learn from each other, and amplify their results together.
What's up, everybody? Amir Reiter here for the Transform Sales Podcast. We have a new series. The series is called the Sales Training Platform Series, and I have our first guest, Brad Rosen, President of Sales Assembly. What's up, man? How are you?
Hey, great. How are you doing? Thanks for having me.
Dude, I'm happy to have you. Can't complain. Love the new series. So many amazing sales training platforms out there. It'd be great to help people find the best of the best. I think I've been connected with you on LinkedIn for maybe 2 years, and I think we just spoke recently. But I appreciate you jumping on quickly. You're in Chicago now?
Yes, in Chicago.
June
Right now,
1st.
great weather, so can't complain.
That's why you're happy.
That's right. No, it really is true. When you can get out, get a little sunshine. I know you have that quite often, but a little sunshine, a little warmth, maybe take a meeting on the walk, on the go. That's the way to do it.
I know. I like Chicago. I like the people of Chicago. I love the directness, but I do not like the cold. But that would be for a different podcast. The travel episode.
You're in the wrong city if you don't like the cold. Yeah, for half the year.
It just makes you stronger, right? And then you build a sales training platform.
Well,
so tell everybody.
You just tell yourself that it makes you stronger. It doesn't actually do that.
It's true.
Well, game,
I think things are going to change, and I think people are going to start. You can see Miami and all these places. What's happening? Everyone's finally figuring out that the old city model of driving into the city to work is now gone, and that's a whole different story. Tell everybody here who's listening about Sales Assembly. Who are you guys? What do you guys do? Well, give me the high level and maybe quickly, how you started the company. It'd be awesome to hear.
Yeah, modern skill development for go-to-market teams. Company was started 6 years ago from our founders, Jeff and Matt, and they were doing kind of in-person networking events in Chicago for B2B SaaS teams. I had been going to some of their events when I was running different organizations over at G2. And then kind of COVID hit, and the options were like close up shop because they're in-person events, or like everybody else, like adapt and change. And so we changed the whole platform, and that's when I joined. Was figuring out how do we scale this platform so that it's not in person. It can be to anybody, anywhere, at any time. And so 250 live events a year where we bring together a community of folks from 200 plus different B2B SaaS companies to help share their ideas and get knowledge training from experts within the B2B space. And so we actually have a fundamental belief that it's actually very challenging to give foundational skill development to your team. Typically, you focus on two things. You focus on your product and how to sell your product and the features. And then you have a sales methodology that you're really focused on in trying to go to market. But what you neglect is that not everybody's starting from the same place and has the foundational skills necessary to be successful. Mm-hmm. Especially in this day and age when you need everybody to be really efficient and effective at their roles. You probably don't have the resources or maybe even the ability to train people the right way to ensure that they're effective in what they're doing.
Yeah. So my next question was going to be what problem do you fix? But I think you answered that. So essentially what Sales Assembly is looking to do is to kind of really give an organization the ability to tap into that fundamental base training that most people come in with at different points in their career, right? And everyone's focusing on the product and the methodology, but giving people just really that core base so that everybody's on an equal playing ground, right? Where it comes to what they know from a core. And then the other pain point is just that for an organization to build that function internally, to hire a trainer, right? Maybe it made sense when you're 100, 200 sales reps plus, not anymore because everybody's not in the same office anyways, and we're all remote. So
that's right.
Also a faster, cheaper, more efficient way for companies to access fundamental sales training.
That's right. And when you think about the way that it goes is even if you had a wonderful sales trainer, could they create enough content for everybody for the whole year? And then maybe they're really good at sales. They have a great background in that. Maybe they could stretch to business development, a lot of the same principles, but would they have the full understanding of what CS does and a full understanding about revenue operations and marketing, all the go-to-market roles? And did they know enterprise sales versus transactional, more SMB sales? So fundamentally, do they know that? And then also, if they know all of that, are they trained in learning and multimodality and how people actually learn and retain information? That's also very challenging. So you couple all of that, and then you also say, hey, we really love this training, but we want to hear a different voice. Like after time, the same voice over and over becomes somewhat repetitive. And so at some point, you want to hear outside voices and different perspectives. And so that's the other part of it, is bringing in industry leaders. You may have the VP of sales from LinkedIn, and then the head of CS from G2, and then the head of revenue operations from Sprout Social. And all those folks are speaking at all different times to provide different viewpoints and different experiences to your team to help them grow.
Yeah, and like, look, that kind of works too, like in like personal training, where like you can work out with your buddies, but like when you hire a personal trainer who like is just telling you what to do, and you see him as that authority, you tend to learn better. So and it's like tennis lessons, right? Like it's like
Right.
you learn whenever you're learning with your team. It just feels different when it's an authority that just focuses on it, right? And that's kind of like
That's right.
that's how I feel too. And then would you say that you're also tackling the problem of just like the speed at which some things are changing in the industry, where like if you're a company and you're having your own sales training platform or LMS, the changes are happening so fast now that like even keeping it in-house doesn't make any sense. Like I'd imagine that even being called sales assembly and being hyper focused on what you guys do, that you probably are still playing the catch-up game of staying up to date, right? I can imagine if you're a company that it could be nearly impossible. Is that something else that you guys have value in? Like just
It really is. And when you think about like how do you even create content? Hey, we want to spin up this training on AI. AI is so hot right now. Like, what do we do? How do we make sure that we have good training on it? Well, first you'd have to find an authority and understanding a baseline of like what we want to train on. You would then have to build out the content, which could take 5, 10, 20 hours, let's say, if you want to do it the right way, and then find time for like everybody to go to this training and then reinforce that training.
Yep.
Where we have the ability to then just spin up an event. We have an AI event coming up, next month, because we are able to find somebody within the network that has that knowledge that can help explain those things pretty quickly. And you can do that across all topics. So when COVID hits, all right, let's talk about selling remotely. Let's talk about how the buyers are buying differently. Now we're talking about things like a longer sales cycle and how to create urgency, how to drive, leads in a tough environment when people aren't buying. And so you can continue, like you said, to adapt the different talking points and the lessons learned pretty quickly, because we can tap into different experts throughout the network. And that's that crowdsourced idea, right? Is that if you have one person, it's much harder. As you mentioned, personal trainer, you could expand that even to a Peloton, right? Like in the morning, I like to listen, ride with one person. In the evening, maybe I have a different feeling. I ride with another person, and they give you different motivations, different feelings. And that's how you push yourself forward, as opposed to the same person all the time with the same class. That's more challenging.
I like that analogy because I use Peloton. Transparently, I canceled the service and decided to just watch Lex Friedman podcasts while I was
There you
biking.
go.
I found that to be I didn't need the motivation from the people, but that's just obviously hyper specific. But this all makes sense to me, right? Let's talk about your ideal buyer, right? And I know you're in Chicago. I know that you focus on potentially SaaS, but love to know, is there a specific buyer that you help? Is it B2C? Is it B2B? Are they service? Are they software? What does that look like at Sales Assembly?
Yeah, typically our buyers are in the B2B space, though they do range anywhere from Series A all the way up to IPO, and that's because you can use it for different things. And I've seen this building different companies, is that your needs change throughout time as your company grows. So at first, usually what happens is you don't have an enablement person, and all of your training is based on your sales leader, who, by the way, may have been promoted because they were like your best rep, and now you have like 6 reps, and you're like, oh, let's just promote this person.
The last man standing.
Last man standing, right? So last man, woman standing, and they're now your sales leader. Okay, so now they're in charge of sales training, which we don't even know if they've been trained to be a leader, by the way, let alone a trainer.
Usually not.
Others.
They're usually a lone wolf high performer.
That's right. And by the way, those lone wolf high performers typically have a specific skill set that is not transferable to others, or very hard to transfer to others, right? Like you have to sell being yourself as opposed to trying to be somebody else. And I think that's also hard to wrap your head around. But so now we have this kind of team of folks that are trying to teach each other. And that's hard in and of itself. And you're probably not hiring really experienced reps who've been through the through it all before because you're still growing your team and you don't have the ability, resources, usually money to pay for a rep who's got 10 years of experience and knows how to handle all the objections that that someone's going to throw their way. So right then and there would be a perfect time, obviously, to supplement some of that training to someone like sales assembly. And then as you grow, you'll maybe have one enablement person, but unfortunately, enablement and revenue operations and a lot of these supporting roles are actually trailing indicators. Like we hire them too late when we recognize that there's a problem. And usually the problem is we're not getting enough efficiency out of our team. So how do we do that? We add some of these supporting roles on, and I would argue that we should hire them significantly earlier, but that's beside the point. That's typically what happens. So now you have like one enablement person, but they're serving 80 to 100 go-to-market team members, which again, it's just not enough. And we can help supplement along the way. So typically the buyer is in that B2B or B2B services adjacent realm. And the reason why that is typically you get two things. One is like the content is relevant. If you're selling financial services, the content would probably still be relevant, but there's kind of usually more use cases that are synonymous to you. And then the folks that you're meeting are in a lot of the same positions that you're in and having the same interactions. And so it helps from a community standpoint to connect with others. But that model, and we've talked about it, but like that model can expand, right? This is just a principle of bringing people together to learn from different folks with differing opinions. And I think that in general, we talk about Peloton and other ways that can work at scale. And there's a lot of sales trainers out there who do more consulting, one-to-one, customized training. They're wonderful at what they do, and there's a great place for that as well. But I think you kind of need to just use both in different ways.
Makes sense. But so the best customers that you serve are organizations that have the need for efficiency gains in their sales team, right off the bat, right? Like their conversion rates, top of the funnel, bottom of the funnel, middle of the funnel, is just off from benchmarks, right? And that's the pain point that you serve. But you also mentioned that buyer habits, right, where it's like mistakes that buyers make. You kind of said it is that they hire or they reach out to a company like Sales Assembly after they have a problem versus before they have a problem, right? Which is kind of like, back to an analogy of the gym. Like it's better to have good form from the beginning than learn bad form for 10 years and then hire a trainer to kind of fix your form, right? What would you say to buyers out there? Like what would be a way for you or the industry in general to educate buyers so that they're proactively working with training software platforms versus reactively? I know it would make your life a lot easier.
I would take you, great, inbound lead, let's do it. But I would take your analogy even a step further. It's like, don't wait for the doctor to tell you that you need to make a lifestyle change because you're a little overweight and you have some health issues. Like make that lifestyle change.
Those 2 packs of cigarettes a day are catching up to you now.
Probably not. Yeah,
surprise, right?
Yeah, shocking. And so I would say that you need to build in a culture of learning in general. And this is not Sales Assembly, specific. Like you should have a way that your team is constantly learning. And you and I were talking about LinkedIn. There's, a lot of things going on LinkedIn, but you can find good information there, or a blog post, a podcast. Like there's plenty of places you can find free information to drive learnings for your team, right? And say, everyone go listen to this podcast, put it on 2X, and make sure that, you listen to it before Friday, and let's talk about how we can implement some of these things into our sales process. Now, that's very easy in a culture of learning. You can do that for free. Right? Sales Assembly would take that the next level and have programming curriculum that you could build off of each other, and for every role, and there's, tons of bells and whistles, but you can do that without joining Sales Assembly. And I think I would encourage people to do that. There's a stat out there that says 94% of employees would stick around longer to a job that is showing that they're investing in learning, investing in you. And I think that's really important, especially folks would say, well, right now, who's leaving a job anyway? And we got, our high performers. But I actually think now is the time when you should be investing in those people. We have less people, less ability to have turnover. Like if one of your high performers turns over right now, you're really in a tough spot because you probably already cut back. You probably are already running lean. And to go find and retrain somebody to be a high performer takes time and ramping, as we know. And so investing in your people, showing them that you care about them, their career development is really important. You should do that with sales assembly. You should do it without sales assembly, but you should make that part of
No,
your
it's back to the thing, like, and I appreciate you saying that, right? Because you can go to the gym with paying membership, or you could do a trainer, right? So the big difference, it's not that it's not that you can't find content and you can't find help. It's that it's just the truth. Like if you want to have a culture of always learning and enablement, then stepping it up to the paid version is going to help bring experts in. And I hate saying this, but like when you're by yourself with your friends, you're like, all right, cool. Like, I'm not really, once you get some experts involved and they're training you, you kind of like take them seriously and you want to show them that you're learning, right? There's like, if someone brings in like a top tennis player to play you as a trainer, you're gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna be running to every ball right now. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's a good thing. Cause also like, you bring that up too, like marketplaces, our freemium product is information, it's data, right? They can find a sales assembly and they can work with you guys directly through our content. But if they want some help and support, right, and us checking in and making sure that they're doing it and help finding the right one, they can go through a marketplace, right? So it's kind of similar to that. Whereas a marketplace, that is free, right? Buying is hard, right? So training content could be free out there. Having it constantly updated and delivered in a measurable way is hard, if that makes sense,
Yeah. And I think that's important because a lot of folks try and always position their product as like it's all or nothing. Like if you don't buy our product, you're going to have none of it. And that's just not the truth in a lot of different scenarios. I mean, even a CRM, like I can keep my information in a spreadsheet. I could do that. It wouldn't be as good. There would be a lot of value in getting a CRM. But same thing with the marketplace. Same thing with training. Like you can do it, and instill that within your culture, but then having
there's a freemium and the paid version. It's everything, right? You got
right.
Pandora, you got ads, you got YouTube, you got ads, you pay, you don't got ads, right? So that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense to me. What would you say differentiates you guys from some of the sales training platforms out there?
I would say the biggest thing is the community and then the variety of training and enablement. And so the community of having all these folks that are able to come in and give their viewpoints. We have peer groups where AEs are meeting with other AEs, heads of sales are meeting with other heads of sales, and being able to talk, like you said, about the current situation and what exactly is going on, and making sure that that's curated. There are a lot of communities out there, there's no question, but because it's attached to learning and development and actually building your skill sets, there's a different talk track that's going on. You're able to actually bring an idea to the community and then come out with actionable next steps. So that would be one. And then, the diversity of speakers and backgrounds, really hard to match, in being able to have different thought leaders. And the last part of that is we do have folks who are learning and development professionals. And I think a lot of folks will put on webinars or other ways to try and train people, but they're one off and they're not thought through in the way that, hey, how is this being delivered? What are the takeaways? How are we going to make sure it's actionable to drive business results? And that's kind of the key, because if something's enjoyable but not actionable, it's just entertainment, right? Like I watched something enjoyable on TV last night, but that's not going to help me with my business. And so there's a difference between I enjoyed that session and I got something out of it that I can actually take and change the way I'm doing things within my business and make it better.
Makes sense. How would a guy like me go about getting involved in the community? I want to help out with a lone wolf course. I could teach what it's like to be a lone wolf that executes. No, I'm just kidding.
You're in.
I want in.
I'll have our speaker, the person who books our speakers, hit you up.
I want in.
That is the point. Is a lot of folks do have great experience like yourself who want to share it with others just because they want to get help others and make sure that they're helping the community give back. And so we're able to build that roster of people that have been in those positions and can really make sure that people are getting the right training and that they're building the right skills for what they need in their career.
Awesome. Well, look, man, this has been an awesome first episode of this series. Anybody listening, we have the links to Sales Assembly below in the comments. But anywhere, Brad, anybody wants to reach out to you guys and connect with you, what's the best way for them to reach out and extend that olive branch?
Yeah.
So that one.
Shockingly, we're at salesassembly.com. So you can go there to hit us up. And then obviously I'm on LinkedIn, Brad Rosen. So feel free to connect. I would love to chat with anybody about this or in general. And thanks for having me on.
Oh, my pleasure, man. I love what you guys are doing, and we hope to help people find you and get ahead of training before it becomes a problem. Brad, thank you for being the first guest on this specific series. Have a good one, man.
You too. Take care.
All right, bye.